So how to actually get things done and check off your to-do list. It might seem simple, like you just make a list and then do the things on the list, but as you know, it's not that easy. I remember I used to obsess over my to-do list and my productivity system. I would constantly be trying new apps and looking for the perfect system. I'd set up different categories, all perfectly labeled with nice emojis. I'd make sure to quickly capture tasks throughout the day. At the end of the day, I'd categorize each task, add special tags, add a due date, and plan out which tasks I'd do for the next day. But when the next day came around, I simply wouldn't get anything done. On the good days, I might complete a few of the easiest tasks because I had to start somewhere, and the feeling of checking something off at least made me feel a little bit productive. But I'd usually just end up with a long list of overdue tasks and an even longer list of goals that I never achieved. I've since completely changed how I use a to-do list, and I've honestly never been more productive. Recently, I've had the largest growth on my YouTube channel, all while still getting high performance ratings and promotions at my day job, making progress towards my fitness goals, and maintaining strong relationships with my friends and family. After watching this video, you'll finally stop drowning in a long list of overdue tasks and start getting the important things done and actually making progress towards your goals. Ironically, when I first started getting into productivity and stuff, one of the first systems I tried was GTD, which stands for getting things done. But for me, it was more like getting a lot of things on your list and none of it done. And if I remember correctly, this system involved kind of a few steps in the process. The first was just capturing random ideas throughout the day into your inbox, and then clarifying those ideas, turning them into action steps, categorizing them, like organizing it into different categories in your life, reviewing the tasks, so doing like a daily, weekly review, and then finally actually completing the tasks. And this system sounds nice on the surface and might work for some, but for me, it always just overcomplicated things and never resulted in me actually getting the important work done. The first thing I realized is that you don't need to organize your tasks into all these different categories, all labeled with their own emoji. And I'll talk more about why that is and what my alternative system for that is later in the video. The other problem with these productivity systems is that they end up clogging your list with all this noise and tasks that aren't really important. A lot of these productivity systems encourage just adding anything and everything to your inbox because your brain isn't good at remembering things, so it's better to just capture it in the moment in your to-do list. This might be true to a certain extent, but I found that it just results in a list full of noise and unnecessary tasks. And another big mistake that I used to make a lot is obsessing over apps. I would always be trying out different to-do list and productivity apps, trying to find the right one, seeing what the new features are, seeing if I can, set up these integrations with other apps and stuff like that. None of that really matters. It's all down to personal preference. And for the way that we'll be using to-do lists, all apps are literally fine. You can just use a free one on your phone, like Apple Reminders or something. I'm Miles, and I make videos on this channel about honestly anything I'm really interested in, but lately that has been about how to optimize our productivity and lifestyle to build a more fulfilling life while still working a 9-to-5 job. If that sounds like something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button right now. So let's zoom out and define the actual purpose of a to-do list. It might seem obvious, but it's easy to lose sight of the core purpose, especially when you get caught up in the YouTube social media productivity space. I think of a to-do list as a tool to organize and remind yourself of the tasks that need to get done. To-do list or a task manager is a tool, so the act of organizing your list and even just checking something off on the list is not in itself productive. Doing the actual important work is what determines your productivity. So avoid spending loads of time going through your to-do list. You don't need to have like an hour daily planning session. Not only is that a waste of time, but it will fool your brain into thinking that you're being productive for that 1 hour. Remember, your productive time is the time you actually spend doing the important tasks. Your to-do list is just a tool to help you keep track of and remember to do the important work, no more than that. I like to think of a to-do list as just the middleman between your brain and doing the work. All of this begs the question, do you even need to use a to-do list app or a digital productivity system, or can you just stick to pen and paper? And the truth is, no, you definitely don't need to use these fancy task manager and to-do list apps. Think of some of the most productive people in history before the age of phones and the internet. Benjamin Franklin, Da Vinci, Mozart. They still got way more stuff done than us without some fancy to-do list app or digital productivity system. They probably just jotted some things down on paper or in a journal or just used their brain. There's no reason why a digital task manager or productivity system should be essential for us. How to categorize tasks. In my eyes, there are 3 types of tasks: deep work, shallow work, and noise. Deep work tasks are the high leverage, high priority tasks that actually move the needle forward, and they usually require a lot more focus and brain power. So for me, this might be scripting or recording this YouTube video. Shallow work tasks are low leverage, doesn't necessarily move the needle forward, requires less energy to complete but still needs to be done. So this could be things like time-sensitive errands, taking in your car for maintenance, cleaning up your desk, setting up a more aesthetic background for my YouTube videos. Noise is literally everything else. I'd probably guess that at least 75% of the tasks on your to-do list right now are noise. These are all tasks that you could do, but you don't really need to do them, and you wouldn't be any closer to your goals if you did do them, and you also wouldn't be any farther from your goals if you didn't do them. So on my to-do list, I set up only 2 categories: deep work and shallow work. Anything that is noise does not even make it onto the to-do list. You might be thinking, but wait, don't I need to organize my tasks into all the different areas of my life? I need to have separate lists, each labeled with their own emoji, right? Work, fitness, education, YouTube, errands, relationships. Wrong. I used to do this and it looks nice, but it's just completely unnecessary. It just gives you a dopamine boost and a false sense of feeling like you have your life together and are being productive. Obviously, having all these separate lists with all the different things you need to do in your life doesn't mean you have your life together. Actually, doing the stuff on those lists determines whether you're productive and have your life together. There's also honestly zero need to categorize things into different areas. You can usually just instantly recognize what a task is just by reading it. If I see on my list, record Tuesday YouTube video, I instantly know what that means. I don't need to have it under the YouTube category to know that it's for YouTube. Only add tasks you might forget. I've really been trying to take more of a minimalist approach with my to-do list and add as few tasks as possible. Remember, we got to keep in mind the general purpose of a to-do list, and part of that is to just remind us of the tasks that we need to do. If I don't need to be reminded to do a certain task, I won't put it on the list and I'll simply just do it. For example, I know that I upload videos weekly every Tuesday, so I don't have to remind myself that I need to get a video done this week before Tuesday. It's already sort of ingrained in my mind since I've been making videos consistently for almost a year now. You don't need to be a slave to your to-do list and feel like you need to have something on the list in order for you to do it. If you know there's an important high leverage task that needs to be done and you don't really need to be reminded about it, then just forget the list, forget the middleman, and just do the task. Breaking down larger projects. This is another common thing that productivity gurus and people will recommend, break down the bigger task into smaller tasks. You'll see to-do list apps advertise how you can add all these subtasks so you can start small and it'll make the bigger task feel less overwhelming. This can be helpful in certain circumstances, but I do it sparingly and only when you really need to break it down. Otherwise, you would get confused on what to do or just feel unmotivated to do anything. If the task isn't that complicated and you already know what to do each step of the way and don't need help remembering what to work on, then just don't break it down and simply do the task. For example, with scripting this YouTube video, I don't need to break it down into subtasks like script the intro, then script the main body section, then script the conclusion. That's just a waste of space and will clog up your list. I already know what goes into a script, I just need to do it. Even with making an entire YouTube video, I'm so familiar with the process now of scripting, coming up with ideas, thumbnails, editing the video, uploading, etc., that I probably don't even need to break that down into separate tasks. And since I do it so regularly, I also don't need to be reminded of it, so I often won't even add that to my to-do list. I really only break something down into subtasks if it's a major project that takes a long time, it spans over multiple days or multiple deep work sessions. For example, I'm making this productivity mastery course for my community that right now is 27 modules of just no BS productivity advice, breaking down everything I know about how to actually be productive and progress towards your goals. It's been a long process of planning, scripting, filming, and editing, and takes a lot longer than a normal YouTube video, so this would be the type of thing that I might break down into subtasks on my list. This is the first time that I made sort of a major course for my community, so it was definitely helpful to break it down into subtasks, but as I make more courses, I imagine it will become kind of similar to YouTube videos in the sense that I'll be familiar with the process and won't need to plan it out as much and break it down into subtasks. How to pick which tasks to do. I definitely like to take a less is more or kind of essentialist approach to this, and definitely think it's way better to check off 1 or 2 high leverage important tasks than 15 shallow work BS tasks. So don't fool yourself into thinking you're productive just because of the number of tasks that you happen to check off. So what I like to do is the night before select 1 deep work task that will be my most important task that I'll start the next day with. If I check that off, the day is a win. If you've done a good job of discerning which tasks are deep work versus shallow work versus noise, and you just check off this 1 really important task each day, you will still progress towards your goals. Once you've done that main task, if you still have time, you can do other tasks later in the day that maybe aren't as high of a priority as that first task that you already completed. If you can check off other deep work tasks later in the day, that's great, but if you feel drained or used up all your time, no worries, the day is still a W if you checked off that main task. So here's what my current task workflow looks like. I use a combination of paper and digital lists. On Sunday evening, I write out the big deep work tasks on a piece piece of paper and I keep that on my desk or tape it to my monitor where I can see it at all times. I like this because it allows for flexibility, because I don't select like a specific day when I have to do each of these big tasks, but I'm still generally tied to them because I wrote them down on this physical piece of paper on Sunday evening when I was in a nice, rational, clear headspace. And then I mainly use my digital to-do list for random time-sensitive reminders that I might forget, and also for the ease of accessing it on the go. Recently, I honestly haven't been using my to-do list app that much because I feel like I've been so dialed in and focused on my goals that I just kind of know internally what I need to work on and don't need this to-do list app to remind me. I do still occasionally use it, but mostly it's like shallow work errands that end up in there, or maybe deep work tasks that I plan for the future that I might forget if I don't add them. Another thing I've been doing recently that's really helped is I'll take my big deep work tasks, the ones that I wrote on the physical sheet of paper, and I'll go into my online community miles ahead and I'll post them as a community post and just kind of pin that to the top of the discussion board, and I'll ask other people in the community to comment their goals for the week as well. And this has been really nice because not only does it give me another place to access my big goals for the week in this digital format, but seeing other people comment their goals for the week really helps me stay motivated, and we all sort of comment on each other's goals, check in with each other, keep each other accountable. It's a great way to have some public accountability, and that's really helped me increase my productivity recently. That's the top link in the description. Go click that right now, and you'll also get instant access to my new productivity mastery course. As always, do something today that your future self would thank you for.